In a small town, there lived a man named David. David was a single father who had raised his daughter, Emma, on his own since she was young. He poured everything he had into being the best father he could be, always working hard to provide for her and trying to shield her from life's challenges. He was proud of the life he'd built for them, but deep down, David had a habit of holding on to the past, especially memories of his late wife, Sarah. David's house was a treasure trove of memories. Sarah's old paintings hung on the walls, her favorite books lined the shelves, and her old gardening tools still lay in the shed, untouched. He clung to these things as though letting go of them would mean letting go of Sarah herself. As Emma grew up, she noticed how her father seemed trapped by memories. "Dad," she'd say gently, "I think you should go out more, maybe meet new people." But David would brush off the idea, smiling and saying, "I have all I need right here." The truth was, David couldn't imagine a life beyond the one he'd shared with Sarah. One spring, Emma announced that she'd been accepted to a college across the country. While he was happy for her, David felt a pang of dread. Emma had been his world, his companion, and the only family he had left. He didn't know what he'd do with an empty house. He hugged her tightly and said, "I'm so proud of you." But inside, he wondered how he would handle the loneliness. After Emma left, David tried to fill his days with routine, tending to his garden, reading Sarah's favorite books, and visiting old friends. But he felt hollow, haunted by the quietness of his now empty home. In an effort to distract himself, he joined a local community group, hoping to find something new to occupy his mind. There, he met a warm and kind woman named Margaret. Margaret was different. She had a lightness about her, a way of enjoying life without being weighed down by the past. She noticed David's reserved nature and his tendency to speak about his life as though it had already happened, as though his story was over. They began spending time together, gardening, cooking, and sharing stories about their families. One day, while they were tending to the community garden, Margaret handed David a small potted plant. "Here," she said, "a fresh start." He took it, laughing softly, but something about her words stuck with him. A fresh start, he thought. That evening, he walked around his home looking at all the reminders of Sarah. He began to wonder if his memories, as cherished as they were holding him back from truly living. He realized he had spent so long honoring the past that he had forgotten how to make room for anything new. Slowly, he began making small changes. He took down Sarah's old paintings and stored them safely in a box, allowing the walls to be empty, waiting for something new. He donated her books to the local library, knowing that others would cherish them as much as she had. With each step, he felt a bit of his burden lift. It wasn't about forgetting Sarah. It was about allowing himself to move forward without the weight of holding on to every physical reminder of her. One afternoon, he invited Margaret over for tea. They talked for hours, and David realized he was laughing more than he had in years. He felt a warmth he hadn't felt since Sarah, and it terrified him. "Am I betraying her?" he thought. But as he looked at Margaret's kind eyes, he realized that Sarah wouldn't have wanted him to live his life in shadows. She had always encouraged him to embrace happiness wherever he could find it. Months passed, and David and Margaret grew closer. They were both careful and respectful of each other's pasts, finding joy in their companionship without pressure or expectation. David's life began to fill with new routines, new laughter, and new memories, all while still honoring the love he had for Sarah. One day, as David looked out over his garden, he noticed something blooming. It was the plant Margaret had given him, a symbol of his fresh start. In that moment, he felt peace. He hadn't let go of Sarah entirely, but he had let go of the need to hold on to everything she had left behind. He realized that life was about living, not just remembering. When he looked back, David saw his journey as a gift of freedom, a chance to live a new chapter without guilt. He had learned that letting go wasn't about forgetting. It was about making room for the beauty that was still yet to come. And so David continued his life, cherishing the memories of Sarah, but also embracing the joys of the present. For the first time in years, he felt whole, knowing he could honor his past while welcoming whatever the future had in store. So if you're watching this, know it's okay to move on from the past. Because the only way to grow is to make room for the future you deserve.